All right, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time of the day it is you're watching this program. Welcome to Philadelphia Eagles Talk with Geoff. And folks, that was a big win. That was a big win. Lots to talk about with this one. Lots. And where do we start? Well, I'm going to start with the fact that the defense that we have been crushing, justifiably so, through the season so far showed up. They manned up, they showed up, and they are the reason why the Eagles went down to New Orleans, a place that's extremely hard to come back with a W, and won the game. Major props to our defense. And so that's going to be the focus mainly of the recap because that is truly the reason why the Eagles are heading on to play the Buccaneers now at 2-1. So much to cover in this game. Just me solo here today. I am Geoff. Welcome, because I know I just recently launched on YouTube after being over 2 years on having an audio podcast, on iHeartRadio and Spotify and all that. So most of you in the YouTube community are just hearing about Philadelphia Eagles Talk with Geoff. So before I get started, make sure you subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and like, and make sure you comment. We're going to be doing live streams upcoming, but I want to build an audience first before we start doing that. But really, the idea of getting to YouTube was to be able to engage with other Eagle fans. So I want to make sure that that we hear from you via commenting now, and certainly to join our live streams when we do have it. We're going to have Matt probably join us a little bit later this week, get his thoughts on the game, and maybe another guest potentially as well. So we'll see how that goes. But let's get back to the game. The Eagles eking out a 15-10 victory against the Saints in New Orleans, the high-flying Saints, right? And, listen, those of you who watched the pregame that Matt and I did, neither one of us thought that the Eagles would win this game. I mean, why would we, right? I mean, the Eagles playing terrible defense so far this year, and not being able to get to the quarterback was really our biggest concern, and has been my biggest concern. And the lack of pass rush, the lack of unable to stop run, and then you got Kamara coming in here, who's a really good back and having a great start to the season, and then the Saints were putting up 40 points a game. I mean, why would you think that Eagles would go down there to a place that they don't play well anyway and come back with a win? So I don't think it's going to shock, shouldn't shock any of you out there that I picked against the Eagles this week. But of course, listen, my heart's always with the Eagles, but I'm going to make what I think is a legitimate and reasonable, justifiable prediction. And I didn't think it was going to be close. Not only did I have them losing, but I thought that they would lose badly. In fact, I had them losing 35-16 was my prediction. So wasn't even close. All right, let's get started here. Now, what made this game even more impressive by the Eagles? Not only the fact of how great they played defensively. This might be the best defensive game that I've seen played by the Eagles under Sirianni, even including the Super Bowl run that they had. I mean, it was just some very all-around great plays by the defense. They didn't get a lot of sacks. They didn't let the scoreboard with sacks, but he was constantly under pressure. Quarterback was, plus they shut down Kamara. I mean, he had 80 yards, which is not a bad day, but he had 26 carries. So, it's like 3.3 yards a carry or something like that. So they really did a good job in shutting down the run. And then you get, Chris Olave had some pretty good catches. He's probably the only one who had any success really against the defense of secondary, the Eagles, who played very well. But what I was getting at is what made this even more impressive was the fact that the Eagles suffered major injuries to key players. Lane Johnson left the game in the early third quarter, I believe. It was either late in the second or early in the third. He basically missed half the game. there's some conflicting stories out there whether or not he was sick before the game and got worse during the game, or he got sick and was throwing up because of a concussion. I think he was officially ruled out with a concussion, but there were reports that I've seen that he was not feeling well during the game. So I don't know what it is. I think we're leaning towards that fact that it is a concussion. Either way, Lane Johnson, who we know the Eagles just don't win without him in the lineup, um, left the game with about halfway through. And of course, the just unwatchable hit, really, that Devontae Smith took. Now, a lot of Eagle fans are blaming the guy who came in and slammed him late. Listen, I mean, did he have to hit him that hard? No, because it's not like Smith was going to go anywhere. The guy weighs 115 pounds soaking wet, and he had three guys on him moving him backwards. So it wasn't really a hit you needed to do, but I'm not going to blame the guy because you play, and if I was a coach, I'd say you play through the whistle. You play through the whistle, right? And not that Smith was going to be a guy who's going to break away from three guys on him, but some players can. Barry Sanders, some players that are more elusive. You don't play to the whistle and you're just kind of half-assing it, wrapping the guy up before a whistle's blown. You can see guys, and you've seen guys break out and or push for more yards or whatever. That was going to happen with Devontae Smith. We all know that. But I'm just saying, if I'm going to be a coach and teach my guys to play through the whistle, then I'm not going to blame a guy who comes in, quote, late and hits Devontae Smith. Again, he didn't need to hit him that hard, but there was no whistle. So I'm blaming the refs. Referees, I don't know what the hell they were thinking. Did they really think that Devontae Smith, his motion was not stopped? He was going backwards for a matter of 1 or 2 seconds and no whistle. And then the guy came in and completely blindsided him and knocked him out with a concussion. Smith was down in the field, not moving for a little bit, and then ended up walking off the field under his own power. He looked to be, quote, okay, other than the fact that he clearly has a concussion. And probably we're not going to have him this week. Some guys can get through a concussion protocol within a week's time. I would say there's an outside chance of that happening, but I would think that you have to bank on no Devontae Smith this week. And probably I don't think A.J. Brown's coming back either. So this is not that, Tampa Bay is a team that's tough to beat anyway. The Eagles do not play against that team. And more than likely, I would think but they're going to have to play that team without A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And on top of that, they also lost another wide receiver in Covey. And I believe it was on the play. I rewatched the game today, which is one reason why I'm a little bit late doing my recap. I usually do it the game night of. But yesterday, I missed like the first quarter of the game. I got home a little bit late before the start of the game, or after the start of the game. And I wanted to make sure I rewatched the game today before I, gave my recap, especially since I missed, the first quarter. And I think Covey got hurt in a play down the sideline. He caught a kind of a quick pass, quick out, and got about 7 or 8 yards. It was hit pretty hard by either the safety or the cornerback, right on the shoulder. And I think that's what injured Covey. Even though he stayed in the game, I think he played one more play, 1 or 2 more plays, or continue that series. But then he was out after that. So that's when I think he got hurt. And we got word today that he's out for like at least 6 weeks. So he's broke something in his shoulder. I'm guessing either his clavicle or something in the shoulder area. Cubbies. So we now lost our kick returner, and our third wide guy who's basically been our third wide receiver ahead of Dodson. Even so, right now the Eagles are without their top 3 wide receivers going into the game against Tampa Bay. Darius Slay also on this one was a complete cheap shot. I don't know how this guy wasn't thrown out of the game. They did give him a 15-yard, personal foul, but he should have been tossed from the game. I've never seen a player ever get blocked out of bounds, continuing out of bounds into the bench area, still being blocked by a guy. Never have I seen that in my 40-something years of watching football. Never seen anything like that. I don't know how the guy's not been tossed. I hope the guy gets fined. I don't know what the heck the guy was doing, if he had something against Slay or he's just being an a-hole on the field. But he outweighs Slay by 200 pounds. He's trying to be some tough guy, pushing him all the way out of bounds, continuing out of bounds, and all the way into like one of the I think camera tripods or something, or bench. I don't know where he got hurt, but he was writhing on the sidelines right afterwards. So you know, he got banged up or something. Thankfully, Slay is going to be okay, but that was just ridiculous. Um, and then Becton, we also lost too. So Bexton got hurt just before Johnson, actually. So they had to play without their guard. Now Tyler Steen came in and played very well. So I thought the right side of the line, I think his name is Thomas, that big 74 guy. Is that his name, Thomas? Anyway, the right side of the line, the guard and tackle, Tyler Steen, and I think Thomas, 74, came in and played extremely well. So that's good going forward for the Eagles in case they have, well, they're going to have, I'm sure, some injuries as the season goes on. But to know that those two guys can come right in and, do very, very well, I think is a very good sign. And that's a tough environment, again, to play in. It's very loud. So in terms of hearing the signals and all the communication on the line before the snap and a game that neither one of them thought they'd be playing in, let alone playing the entire rest of the game in, I thought was very impressive for those two guys during the game. So, major props to them. Let's see. So the game, very low scoring. I mean, both of us, Matt and I, in our predictions thought this was going to be a high scoring game with the Eagles scoring probably much less. Was what we predicted, but we both thought this was going to be in the 30s and 20s. Neither team hit 20, and which is shocking, especially from the Saints standpoint. But again, this Eagles defense, right from the beginning, Kobe Dean making big time tackles to slow up Kamara, and then Jalen Carter just being a constant disruptor on the line of scrimmage throughout the game was a major factor. And this is the Jalen Carter that when people start making the comparison to Jerome Brown, which I say, hey, timeout, let's push the pause button on that before you start calling this guy Jerome Brown. Even though I was one of the first to call him Jerome Brown, or at least make that, I shouldn't say that. I never called him Jerome Brown. That's the whole point I'm trying to make. I said that he had Jerome Brown type. He reminded me of Jerome Brown when I watched his college tape when the Eagles did draft him. That was when I was one of the first out there that started, making comparisons to Jerome Brown. But I have never, ever said that he is as good as Jerome Brown right now. I've never said that. Even last year we had a pretty good, impressive, rookie season. I'm never going to say he's as good until you reach that level. And certainly the start of this season, he was nowhere near. It even made me look foolish even comparing him to Jerome Brown when he got drafted. But that's the type of potential he has. What you saw this past weekend against the Saints when he was just constantly in the backfield. That's the Jalen Carter that we need. He was also batting down passes. So he's a smart player. That's one thing I've noticed about him. Not only is he just physically gifted, but he's kind of a smart, his awareness is very, very good. Remember last year when he tried to on the spike, I think it was against the Chiefs, when Mahomes went to spike it and he actually dove underneath the center's legs and almost tried to intercept on the spike. I've never seen any player ever do that before, but who's got the presence of mind to ever do something like that? But he was, if he wasn't able to get to the quarterback in the game, he was putting his hands up in the air and batted a couple of them down. So he was just this is the Jalen Carter that we need going forward. It's super important that we get that Carter the rest of the year because there is no Fletcher Cox. We've talked about it in the last couple of recaps. It's like there's no safety net now for these guys, for these young guys. Him and Davis. There's no Fletcher Cox there anymore. He's gone. We need these guys to play up to their ability. And Jordan Davis had a sack in the game. He ran a little stunt and got through for his first sack of the season. So that was good to see. And I think he also held up against the run much better too. So good job by Davis. I don't know if it's Fangio who got under them this week. Probably. I think you have to give credit to him big time for scheming up this defense and getting them to show up against a high-flying offense like the Saints. because all the way through, the linebackers played well, bomb again all over the place. So good to see Bond, making an impact and just being a tackling machine out there. And then, secondary played very well. And of course, you got Blankenship who sealed the game. He's done that twice now in 3 games this year. And then, of course, right after he was running well, getting to Saquon now. I think he had about 8 or 10 carries for I don't know, 70 yards, something like that, before he had his big break touchdown, uh, which happened the next play, ironically, after the Devontae Smith late hit and when he got, taken out of the game. The next play, Barkley took the ball 65 yards for a rushing touchdown. And that really, got the Eagles offense going and shifted the momentum of that game. Because up to that point, things were just flatlined. I mean, they were moving the ball, but then this we're going to get to Sirianni. Sirianni made 2 of the dumbest decisions that I have seen an Eagles coach make in a long time. I've seen Eagles coaches make dumb decisions in the past, but the first one was get the points. The first one I have more of an issue with than the second one in terms of when he passed up the field goal opportunity and tried to get the first down. First one, after a long methodical drive down the field, you're on the road, get the points. Get the points, especially on the road in a tough game, tough environment. Take the points. No, he elects to go for it. The Eagles don't make it. It happened again. Second time the game, same thing. He decided to, I think it was just before the half, decided to go for it again. Didn't make it. And 4th down, instead of kicking the points, and the Eagles trailed 3-0 at halftime. In the game, they could have been leading 6-3 going in. So, fortunately, their defense was playing so well, it didn't, cost them as bad as it could have been. Like say the Saints scored a touchdown, went ahead, which they eventually would do. But I mean, I'm talking about the first half. So, just Sirianni just needs to be smarter in those coaching decisions and take the points, especially if you're on the road. Take the damn points. So, and at that time, you didn't know how good the defense was going to be playing. Yeah, they were playing pretty good to that point, but the track record this season wasn't like this defense was going to be able to do that the entire game. We know that they now, in hindsight, did do that, but you don't know that at the time. Get the points. So just dumb. And then the third one was the biggest boneheaded decision out of all 3 of them. And that was you pass on those field goals early in the game, and then you have Jake go out there and try to kick a 60-yarder. Then you're going to, rather than go for it, or punt, then you're going to try a field goal. I'll be shaking my head dude, are you trying to lose this game? Are you trying to be fired? Because at that point, I'm like, dude, we can't go on with this coach making those badly decisions, those key crucial game decisions. The defense rescued him. I mean, I can't imagine, and he's still going to take some heat for this week, but I can't imagine if the Eagles lost this game, the type of heat that he'd be getting this week from the Eagle fans and the press. Yeah, I mean, he should be kissing Barkley's ass, because he saved him and the defense, of course. So the 4th down calls by Sirianni, just lucky to win because when you have a coach that's also working against you on the road, making dumb decisions, and the Eagles were still able to pull this game out, just makes it all that more impressive. So, and not that Jake can't kick a 60-yarder. We all know that he can, but I mean, it's not an automatic by any stretch. And secondly, it just makes your first 2 decisions look even stupider. So you skip those field goal attempts, and then you go for a field goal attempt when the guy's 60 yards away. And Jake didn't make the field goal, and then the Saints, had great field position. Just stupid, just beyond stupid. So I usually do thumbs up, thumbs down. I only really have in the game 1 thumbs down, and that's Coach Sirianni. I don't think I have another. I don't think any player deserves a thumbs down in the game. I was thinking about it. I usually have 3 thumbs up, 3 thumbs down. Not always, though. And this might be the case where I don't think I have 3 thumbs down players. Coach Sirianni, maybe he just takes all 3 thumbs down for all 3 stupid calls. Because I don't think I have a player trying to do a quick on offense and defense that gets a thumbs down. I don't think any player deserves a thumbs down in this game. Maybe Wilson, who dropped that pass during the last drive near the sideline before Goddard's big play. And but he only had like one or two plays of the game, so really I don't have a thumbs down. Thumbs up, I'm almost out of thumbs ups because there's more than 3 that I can think of. Jalen Carter already mentioned. I think Nakobe Dean had a very good game, probably the best game I've seen him play. He's still bad in coverage. He still blew some coverages. One play they had, I don't know if this is a blown coverage or what, but they had him responsible to cover Olave. I don't know what that was all about. Jordan Davis mentioned him. Obviously, Reed Blankenship, the sniper, the closer, whatever you want to call him, but huge interception that just ended the game. And then, you almost put the entire defensive line in because, I saw Williams obviously making some plays. Sweat played the run pretty well, was close to getting in there and to some sacks and some pressure. Brandon Graham, BG, continues to be their best outside passer, which is still a very big concern. But BG continues to play well. So all those guys, thumbs up. And obviously Goddard. Goddard had a huge game, his best game as a Philadelphia Eagle. We know the potential of this guy. Thankfully, they're starting to use him more. They had to because they had no wide receivers, but just shows you the talent that's just not being used in this offense with Dallas Goedert. 10 catches, 170 yards. Just a huge game. It had the monster catch that led to the Eagles' touchdown drive. Just was big the entire game. Dallas Goedert, major thumbs up. Certainly the star of the game for sure between him and Barkley. And then Jalen Hurts, yes, he had the interception early. I do think it was more Devontae Smith's fault because he didn't actually cut in enough, but it was still a bad pass, still a bad decision. Honey Badger was there waiting to pick it off, and he did. He made a good play. I do think that if Smith cut in a little bit better, which I think Jalen was expecting him to do, that's why I'm not going to put all of the blame on Jalen, but he still needs to be more careful. He's still too reckless in the red zone, and that has been something that has been a ongoing issue for now almost 2 straight seasons. So he just can't. He's got to be smarter. But overall, I thought Hurts played a good game. So I'm even going to give him a thumbs up, even though he threw that costly interception in the red zone. Not going to be a long show today as far as the post game. Again, I at some point I will start doing live streams so that I can get your questions or comments and then be able to, feed off of those during these episodes and these podcasts. But I wanted to obviously get out here, give my thoughts about the game. We're waiting to get Matt on this week. Probably Wednesday will be the next podcast. So be ready to tune in on Wednesday, folks. And, so we'll get Matt in here and we'll get his thoughts on the game, and then we'll start previewing the Buccaneers game. I don't think we're going to have much of an update on these injuries by Wednesday. But we'll see. We'll see how that all goes. I just got finished watching the Washington Commanders beat the Bengals in a nice back and forth game. Commanders going to be, they might be, especially with Dallas struggling, the second best team in this division. I would not be shocked, especially with this kid Daniels, who looks pretty good. He just broke the record for the highest completion percentage for a rookie in all time, like 91%. So a lot of his passes were pretty short, but he also threw some bombs to McLaren right on the money. This kid's impressive. And we will have Johnny Flowers on here, our resident. Those of you from the previous podcast that I did for a couple years, just audio now on YouTube, are familiar with Johnny. So you'll be able to see Johnny too, as we're going to have him on. No doubt we're going to have him on for the Eagles Washington games, but we'll see if we can get him on a little bit early so we can talk with us about Daniels. I'm sure he's excited about this kid. McLaren, we know he's finally got a quarterback, and he went off 100 yards, a couple touchdowns. So good job by the Commanders in a game that Cincinnati had to win, and the Commanders went in there and beat them. So that Daniels kid looks like he's good. They got a decent running back there in Robinson, physical runner. Their defense is pretty good. I didn't know that's where Wagner ended up, by the way. I didn't know he was on Washington. I guess I lost where he ended up going. Back of there, he's played for Seattle for so many years. Bobby Wagner is in Washington, and I had no idea about that. That was interesting. But anyway, this Daniels looks pretty good from what I've seen so far. It was really the first time I've actually seen him play. I didn't watch much of the Commanders this year yet, but that was the first kind of glimpse of this kid, and he looks good. He looks good. So let's see. With that being said, I think I'm going to probably cut this short, but make sure, again, folks, really trying to help build this channel, and you can be a part of it. And I want you to be a part of it. So if you're watching, thank you so much. Please subscribe so you don't miss any future content, and then hit a thumbs up as well. All that really, really helps the channel grow, and so really appreciate it. So we'll see you again probably midpoint of this week, probably Wednesday, for the next episode of Philadelphia Eagles Talk with Geoff. Until then, we're 2-1, heading to the Buccaneers, and we'll see how we are injury-wise. But it's better to be in 1-2. So with that, till next time, we'll sign off here. Philadelphia Eagles Talk with Geoff. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.